Everyone hear me okay? Cool, okay. So yeah, today I'm going to be talking about the Optimizely Data Platform, or the ODP. And I'm going to be focusing on data. You know, that's the most important, I think, facet of the platform. So let's go through. So let's talk through three main things: data entities, importing, and then using the data with segmentation. Okay. So the ODP platform basically has four standard data entities. These are where the data that you push into the system are stored, and they're comprised of customer data. So it allows you to track the customers that you and visitors to the site. You can upload your product catalog, orders, and events. And events are kind of a special kind of concept. So they record the interactions or the visitors' interactions on your site. So, for example, you can record a page view, someone adding something to a cart, taking something from a cart, you know, those kind of things, interacting with a form. And finally, there's a kind of a special, or you have the ability to create your own custom data entities. So this isn't something that you can do out of the box, and you have to speak to Optimizely support about. But it allows you to create your own data entities to capture specific things. So it may be page, you know, kind of more commerce, CMS-y things that you want to do. And then finally, around data entities, you can actually customize each data entity. So a good example of this would be, you know, for an order, you may want to extend and put the market in. But, you know, it's just about the bespoke, the kind of domain-specific information that you may have for the client. Very simple to do. Okay. So moving on, we want to get our data into the ODP platform. And there's lots of ways that we can do this as a developer. And we have to look at it from two areas. We've got data that may be coming from our core website, but we also got data coming from other systems. So it may be an offline orders from a commerce, situation. It may be registrations from an event that may be done through a handheld device. Could be anything. But we want to get that data into our platform so we can understand our customers better. As I said, it gives us multiple options. So the options that are available to us are the pre-canned integrations and apps that come with the platform. We have the ability to upload CSV files. There's the web API, which is basically JavaScript that we can stick on a page. There's a REST API. And then finally, there's the native SDKs. So it allows us to, you know, very easily integrate with Android, iOS apps and actually send data from those scenarios. So I'm kind of going to go through each of these kind of facets at the moment. So the easiest approach for us to do is obviously to use the pre-built APIs, the applications and integrations that come with the system. And examples of these are Commerce Cloud, Facebook Lead Capture, Zapier. And then we've got the integrations here. And there's just some examples here. So this isn't the entire list. There's a lot more that are available to you as a developer. Moving on to CSV import. Okay, so this gives us a lot of flexibility. And we can use CSV files to import into any of the 4 different entities. And this is really useful for when we want to import legacy data. So we may be migrating from a different system, and rather than having to write a manual process to push data from A to B, we can export it as a CSV file, and then we can upload it and map it to the entities that exist within the ODP platform. It may be that there's no integration at the moment with the platform that we want to bring in. so we could actually do it as a manual process until that system is in place. And finally, it's really good, if you're doing POCs and you want to show something to a client quickly, you can get their data, you can stick it into the platform, and you can show them how it represents their data, and there's something that they can kind of grasp hold of and understand, and rather than just fake names and numbers. And it's worth pointing out that this process, when you upload the data into the platform, the data is handled exactly the same as any other process that I'm going to talk about. So if you upload a customer and that customer exists, the data will be merged in. If you upload a record, a product, and that doesn't exist, or a customer that doesn't exist, then that record will be added to the database. So, it doesn't matter how you get the data in there, the process and how it's handled is handled exactly the same. Moving on to the JavaScript API. Now, this is probably the biggest API that you will use when you're integrating ODP. It is the go-to approach, and it's really easy to use. With a few lines of code, you can actually track a user's activity on the site. An example of that is, this is just a script that you get, the example script that you get from the platform, but you can see, you're tracking a page view, and it's as simple as that. You put that onto your master page, or a page that the route, and you'll see that everything on your site is tracked. Okay, so using this approach, you can actually then track further interactions. So, for example, basket activities. So that's add to cart, remove from cart. Account activities. So when someone logs in, when someone registers, when someone logs out. Custom activities. So it may be, that you want to track interaction with a form, or interaction with, an advert, or specific areas of your site. For example, you may want to put a block on there, and you want to see how useful that is from a promotional kind of aspect. You can create your own events and get them added to the system. There's also the REST API, and I think this is an important API as well. It's another approach to send data to the ODP platform. It's also very easy to integrate with, but I think it offers some benefits over the JavaScript API in some use cases. Okay, so it may be that we want to send orders or customers and products, and it may be that for some reason, you can't use the out-of-the-box connector that you get with the platform. So you have to use a different approach, okay? Or it may be that you want to push offline orders into the system. It may be that you've got customers coming in for a different thing. It may be loyalty card information. The options are endless. It may be that updates to a CRM system need to be pushed into ODP. So doing that, you can use the REST API, and you've got options there. You can create a scheduled job to push data in, for example, orders. You can, if you want to, use Logic Apps or Azure Functions, and you can basically push data in from external systems. Zapier obviously gives you a good way to do that. Sometimes I've talked about the JavaScript API in the previous slide, but it may be in some cases better to use the REST API to track some events. For example, add and remove from the basket or account events. It may be that it's better to do this from a REST API because you've got a single API or a single control that does all this activity on the site, and it's easier to deliver it there rather than having to put the code onto 5 different pages because there might be 5 different touch points to how you actually add to basket. And then just an example of how you do it through curl. It's very, very simple. So the APIs I've just talked about allow you to put in, account information, orders, products, etc. But the big thing, I think, to me is events, because it allows you to really understand how people interact with your site. So I'm going to kind of focus on the events. And, events consist of 3 different things, or 3 facets. You've got an event type, an event action, and the event data. Not all the event types actually require an action or data. Okay. Not having much luck with this, am I? Okay. So this is an example of passing an event in using the JavaScript API. So you have the type, you have the action, and then you have the data. Okay. And if you need to pass in multiple fields, then you just extend the object there. Kind of breaking it down, we've got these different types here. So we've got a page view, there's no action. We've got an account, and these are the predefined events and no actions. So you've got register, login, log out, product, the ones that you expect to be there. Add to wish list, add to cart, remove from cart, etc. Navigation, recording when people search and sort. Advertisements, impressions, clicks. And then you've got the two at the bottom here. So this is where you can extend and actually add in your own events. And there's a really good blog post on there by one of the Optimizely team about recorded form interactions. And I think, to me, this is the crux of the information that you need to deal with. There's lots of examples where this is wrapped in other JavaScript, but this is the thing you need to understand. How you get to that point is going to be different on your site and your delivery. And then finally, we've got native SDKs. Okay. So we've talked about REST, we've talked about the JavaScript APIs, but if you're delivering a mobile app, iOS or Android, then you can take advantage of the native SDKs that come with the product, and it will make your delivery a lot easier. Okay. So we're getting all the data into ODP platform. How do we do it? What do we do with that platform, with that data? So it has a concept of segmentation. So we need to collect the data. How do we use it? So a segment, it's a subset of your customer data. It's built up from a user-defined criteria. So the team can go in there, the marketing team or whoever uses the platform can go in there and they can build their segments up from the data that you're collecting. And it's based around the customer data. So you can, for example, here we're looking at customers that are in London, and we want to make sure that they're reachable by email. That's a very, very easy example, simple example, but you can look at things like, are they repeat customers? Have they bought products recently? Are they a high-value customer? Do they buy products in a certain area, a certain category on your site? So there's a lot of stuff that you can do there. You can have some very basic segments, and then you can build up more segments using those base segments. So you might have some very simple ones that are talking about people in a specific area, a specific market, and then you want to make people that can be reached by email. Okay, cool. So we've got our segments, and they give us a view of our data. What can we do with that? Okay, so we can use this segment to extract customer profiles, and then we can export that list, and use it in a different system if we needed to. We can use it in the platform life cycles. So this allows you to, a life cycle is about understanding how people are transitioning through your system and kind of understanding, people that are going to buy or are leaving. And you can use the segments to really kind of as filters within that. So you could actually, rather than look at your entire data set, you could look at people that are in a specific market or people interested in a specific category with your site. You can use it as a facet in your reports. So you can build some reports and using the segments within that. And then finally, you've got campaigns. So campaigns are where you want to be sending emails out, SMS messages, any kind of form of communication. You can use the segments to identify the customers within that. And finally, segments can consume other segments. Okay, so just to wrap it up, I think, in my opinion, the ODP platform is really accessible. I think as a developer, it gives us a lot of opportunity to easily push data into it and then consume it. It's important, to get data from different sources. It's not just about how your customer interacts on your site. They've got many touch points. It may be through email campaigns. You need to understand what interactivity a client has had on that, a customer has had on that. It may be that we need to draw in sales from stores, from bricks and mortar stores. It may be that we need to draw in, information around their gift card usage or any promotions that they've done. So bringing all this information in is important, and I think the platform gives us the tools to do that. So, I've gone through this today. There's some really good blog posts, and I've just drawn 3 out here that give you some more detail around, how to use specific facets of the platform. So this one at the bottom here is really good. It goes on about how you can actually use a platform and the JavaScript API to track interactions with people using forms on the site and then kind of giving you an example of reports based on those forms. So returning people that have signed up for on a specific form. Okay, thank you.
So you've made all your segments. How can you connect it up to Content Cloud? So does it come in as visitor groups, or if you want to use the segments to do personalization, is that possible at the moment?
There's something I didn't go into, and that's the GraphQL API, and that gives you a way to kind of consume the data. You can use it to update data, but you can also use it to read data. But there are some changes that I believe Dave is going to talk about around that.